Hello, Global Gladiators. We're back with Street Masters Rise of the Kingdom. Today we're going to be looking at a fighter that I believe it was Brady, but it could have been Adam Sadler, had said in one of the videos leading up to Aftershock was their favorite fighter. That is Juan from the Cartel. So feel free to put in the Last Action Hero soundtrack, crank up the AC/DC, and we're going to let a big gun kick the hell out of you. When Juan is the boss of the Cartel, not a whole lot of health, not a whole lot of attacks, but he gets his trusty 1812 flintlock carbine, which does a crazy amount of general damage, hits a bunch of fighters as you play through. If you wanted to maybe have a version of Scarface while you play Street Masters, this is the guy to be your Tony Montana. You could also have him come in and be your ally. You can have him be your rival. When you do have him as an ally, he fills in a much needed ranged attack. It only gets 2, doesn't have a whole lot of defense, and doesn't have a whole lot of health, just as you would any other time. But being able to move him around a lot and do an attack at range is super helpful. As a rival, he's super squirrely. He's all over the place. He gains a bunch of random defense tokens, and that's kind of his motif. He moves around a lot, gets a lot of defense tokens, and blasts you in the face with this big gun. Let's take a look, once you buy the redemption pack, at the capabilities he has to make him one of the Sadler's most favorite fighters. Unlike when he's a boss of the Cartel, he doesn't have any special cards that have to go in as reference, so everything's going to be done on his regular fighter card. But that's not to say that he doesn't have any special rules. Just like when he's the boss with his reference card and having to keep track of the shells on your 1812 flintlock carbine ammo, you have to keep track of how many shells are loaded in your shotgun. To do this, we've been provided with tokens. These shotgun tokens have a loaded side on the left and an empty side on the right. The only way to flip back to the loaded side is to use Juan's action. Then, once his action is used, a fighter chooses to draw a card and get a chance to play another card. So he's going to be generating card actions 2 per round if you're using his reload. That's going to be super helpful because he doesn't really have a base attack, so you're going to only be using your cards in order to do those normal attacks. He flips really fast. I think he's the fastest of any of the fighters that are possible at only 3. And that's going to change things up just a little bit depending on how much ammo you have ready to go. Once you do flip over to his charge side, oh man, it gets crazy. Just like when he's a boss of the Cartel, he gets random defense tokens, a bunch of them, but he is going to unload both of his shells. Once he does that, you're going to be doing range damage. He's going to basically get 2 shots with his shotgun. That's 4 damage, general damage, for something that's 4 spaces away. You could do it with 1, or you could do it with both. I don't see why you wouldn't do it with both. It just says pick a target. I believe you can use both of those shells on a single target to do 8 general damage. Keeping in mind, this occurs after only 3, and he gains 3 random defense tokens, which means pretty much every time he flips, he's going to be able to flip again. This is incredibly powerful, and I'm sure there's a huge temptation only to use your ammo for just generating tokens so that you can flip again and do another 8 damage. It helps you keep up with whatever defense tokens a boss is generating. 8 damage is a crazy amount, and you're going to be able to get through very quickly whatever enemies you're fighting. I don't think there's any minions that would be able to hold up to 8 damage, especially if they don't have a lot of defense tokens at the time. So this is super powerful, but it's not the only cards he's got. Let's take a look at tactics. First up, we're going to look at Con Artist and Provide Cover. Con Artist is pretty cool because every time you block some damage using a defense token, you can hit for direct damage, does a retaliation. It also allows you to move to stay out of range of engaged enemies, which is pretty cool. Also, you can draw more cards and perform additional actions using your action. So it's like you're trading yours for one of your teammates, which is great. Doesn't really work too well if you're using him alone. And then we have Provide Cover, which gives more defense tokens. Now you might think, man, all these defense tokens, it's super great. I'm going to flip over to that charge side and I'm going to do a crazy amount of damage over and over and over again. It's going to be super... Well, let's think about this. Whenever you use your charged action, you use up your reload. And your main way of reloading is to use your uncharged side. When it only takes 3 power to flip your card, it's really easy to have way too much power saved up, and you might not be able to reload because you can't get back to your uncharged side. Then you would just be using the action of your charged side to get defense tokens, and you would miss out on the ability to do all that massive damage. That's where you can feint with Provide Cover, because it allows you to do a reload. Since you're drawing so many cards from all your other actions, you might have a lot of these in your hand at the time, or you get through your deck relatively quickly at the very least, and this is super duper useful. That's not the only way you can use your feint of reloading to be able to do a crazy amount of damage though. We have also Street Tough. Notice it's a tactic card that does not have a star on it, so you can use all 3 of these in your deck. If you exhaust it, you get an option. You can heal 1 damage, 3 in a round, that's great. If you're accepting a lot of damage instead of turning them into power so that you can manage when you will be or won't be on that charge side, you're going to need to heal a lot, especially since Juan only has 16 health. He could get damaged really easily and hurt a lot. The other exhaust you can do is if you want to use your loaded shells to cancel attacks and retaliate for 3 general damage. If you were going to use those loaded shells for the charge side, you're going to do 4 and 4. So that's a total of 8. Now, if you use Street Tough, you could block an attack from, say, the boss or from another minion and do 6 general damage total. That's pretty awesome. And you only lose 2. And you can do it whenever you want. You can do it on another fighter's turn because it's an exhaust. This is super important, and the feint from Provide Cover will help you reload this card in order to continue to cancel attacks. It's great. You have to stay within 3 spaces, which means that the movement from things like Con Artist will help you stay within the right range in order to maximize the potential of your additional defense. This makes him a great offensive support fighter. There are other cards such as abilities and attacks that will also use up those loaded and unloaded states. I'm not going to go into everything because I got to leave something for you to find, right? So if you have any comments, questions, concerns, give Juan a shot. I hope you join the Street Masters Facebook fan page and leave a comment, question, or even just tell us about your play and how many people you got into it, or maybe you got a friend to join in that doesn't normally play board games. I know I got someone into it that didn't normally think of this game as an option for them, and they played it and they were like, oh my god, I love the way this plays. Tell us about it. Otherwise, have a good one.